Hello everybody, Starbaby Homestead here. It is an incredibly hot, overcast day. Now we're in some sort of monsoon. I guess there's some storms and El Nino or something is happening off the coast. So now we're getting tons of rain, which if you know how it is in Georgia, it's overcast, it's sweltering hot, and it's been raining on and off with periods of sun. So I try to get out here and weed, but just as soon as I pull the weed, there were more weeds. So it's just a constant cycle. Luckily, we don't have any mosquitoes. I think that I have enough lavender and roses and marigolds planted around, onions, to keep those little suckers at bay. But I kind of have some crappy news. It's regarding my vegetables. Some of them have been looking a little weird, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if I had gotten some strange type of seed. Maybe there was some disease, or maybe because of the stress of heat or too much rain. I didn't know what was going on, and then of course I just kind of Googled and figured out what it was. But it wasn't until I think I was watching a video from the Millennial Gardener, and he just kind of mentioned that he had to revamp his garden, and it's because of root nematodes. And I'm like, wow. And then he showed a picture, and I was like, that looks like some of my vegetables. So let me show you what I've been dealing with. Okay, so this bed right here was the first time. I usually have eggplant in here, and I've never had problems with eggplant. They've always been really prolific. This year I decided to plant this whole bed with parsnips. Now, before I had planted parsnips over in this bed over here. There were carrots and parsnips in there. And I just decided that this soil over here needed to be broken up a bit more because it's one of the newer beds. And so yeah, parsnips and root vegetables are kind of good for breaking up your bed. So I want you to look here. These are some of the last bit of parsnips that I pulled. Look at this. This, people, if you're pulling vegetables that have nodules on them, they look a little nasty. I don't know. This is pretty nasty looking to me. Would you want to eat this? No. No. This is root nematode infestation. Now, mind you, all of my vegetables didn't come out like that. These smaller ones are fine. You see, there's one that is infested here. Okay, a little nodule. Now, the good thing is, with my larger vegetables, I took the little nodules and I just cut them off. They're not really inside of the vegetable. So what they're like parasites. They're like parasitic worms that live in the soil. And when they suck on the roots, your plant can become stunted, a little yellow. It's not producing as well. If you have them really bad and you can't figure out what's going on, if you pull the roots, if they look like this, if they're all knobby like this, then root nematodes are what's infesting your garden, or at least in that particular area. Now, when I planted parsnips before, I didn't have this problem. If I did, I don't remember. I have had some vegetables, root vegetables, just carrots and parsnips, that have looked a little strange. Maybe they forked, but sometimes they fork when the soil is too dense or there's rocks in them. But these nodules are a sure sign that you have root knot nematodes. So what do you do? Well, where's my trusty list? I had to write this stuff down. So the first thing that you want to do, let me get set up here before I start talking. First of all, you want to look for vegetables that are not susceptible to this type of parasite. So we're talking about, for tomatoes, Big Beef, Celebrity, Better Boy, Champion, Carmelo, Flora America, Early Girl. If it's peppers, which peppers tend to be kind of susceptible to this, Carolina Wonder, Charleston Belle, Granada. Now, all of the vegetables that tend to be, oops, it's raining. Hold on guys, let me find shelter. Let me go in the shed. All right. Okay. You have to excuse my pile of plastic there. I'm trying to get all set up. Okay. I had to move out of the shed because it was too hot in there. There's like, it's so hot out here, guys. It's like in the 80s and it's just raining. And no matter what you do, you're just breaking the sweat. So, all right, back to our list. So the vegetables that are highly susceptible to this root knot nematode is okra, eggplants, carrots, and cucumbers. And then I've already mentioned what tomatoes and eggplants. I really think that all of them can be susceptible to them. It just matters that some are more resistant or susceptible than others. Now, if you have broccoli, onions, and asparagus, you can rotate those crops. So if you have them pretty bad, I'd say rotate the crops. I use no dig. So what happens is if the existing soil that you have has them in there, or you've bought some soil that has them in there, then you've infested your garden. I mean, that's not your fault. How would you know? They do have some soils that you can buy that says that they don't have nematodes in them. I wish I could say this. Okay. I make my own compost now, and I'm trying to not buy anymore just because of the diseases, and the quality has really diminished in like the manure and the composted manure and things that you buy. So if you checked out my videos, I'm making my own compost right now. I already have a pile, but I'm using the garbage can method to have my own compost. I know what's going in there. So besides rotating your crops with broccoli, onions, and asparagus, you can also use French marigolds and something called Nemagon mustard seeds. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's a cover crop. You can till that into your soil. Tilling your soil and exposing it to a lot of heat and sun will help kill them or reduce the population. Smothering them using UV heat and radiation by using clear plastic. So I plastic my garden. You just saw that big pile that I had, right? But you can take some clear plastic, like cover it out somewhere where it's blazing hot and kind of kill the soil that way. Another method is to put it in the oven. To me, who is putting soil in their oven unless it's for your indoor plants? Who is taking tons of soil, cooking it in the oven, and then putting it in the garden? Nobody has time for that. So unfortunately, if you have a bunch of them, it's going to take a lot of work. I would suggest trying raised beds, which I think a lot of people do. That's what I do, which is probably why I'm only finding it and discovering it now. I knew that the taproot of my parsnips were going to go way down into the earth, and as soon as it made contact with the native soil, that's where the nematodes came from, because I've been using raised beds and they're pretty deep. I think they're like maybe 12 inches or so, and I'm constantly topping it with fresh soil. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but okay. So you've got some vegetables. If they're large enough, you can actually scrape off those nodules. I know it seems kind of gross and you're probably like, hell no, I'm not eating that. But okay, so if I'm mistaken, hopefully I'm not mistaken about how this works. The parasite sucks, the juice out of your roots, and that's why you get, wimpy, withered plants. The female lives inside the root until it lays eggs, and then when it lays the eggs, that's where you get the little round nodules and galls. but they don't stay in there. So it's just what's left over from when you had these nematodes in your vegetable. So you can cut them off and the vegetable is still edible. And that's what I did with a lot of my big vegetables. I grow, try to grow pretty good sized carrots. The smaller ones, I don't have time for that. They're just going into the compost. But let me know if you are dealing with this. Again, I just was like, ew, my husband said, stop growing these, whatever you're doing. He said, whatever you're doing, please stop. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't know what's going on, because there would only be 1 or 2 vegetables, just like those parsnips I just showed you. All of them weren't infested. Even the bigger parsnips that I grew, a lot of them were just absolutely perfect, but some of them were infested. So let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I went and bought some French marigolds. They are highly pungent, right? I think they stink. That's why bugs don't like them. But I'm going to be putting them in that same bed. Probably one ought to do it, because cucumbers get kind of out of control. But I'm going to plant marigolds in that bed to try to suppress those little buggers that are in there. Also, I'm probably going to add more of my compost to the bed to raise it up. But for a while, I'm just going to, until the season is up, because I've already planted cucumbers in there. I don't know how they're going to be affected. But like I said, the year before, it was full of eggplant, and those eggplant produced like crazy. So, oh wow, it's really starting to rain now. That means it's just gonna get hotter. Yay, but we need the rain, because we were just in a drought here in Georgia, right? So anyway, I'm gonna put marigolds in that bed, and when nothing is in it, I'm probably gonna cover it with plastic. Once the cucumbers come out on that side, I'm probably gonna pull all those plants. I'm gonna cover it with plastic and see if I can cook the crap out of those nematodes in there. Because I don't have time to deal with just a lot of these weird bug, nasty parasite. I mean, it's a parasite that grosses me out so bad. Oh, it got really quiet. My air conditioner unit shut off. Let me know if you are suffering. Let me know if this is something that you've seen. If you're a new gardener and you just discovered it, it helps to know that there's other people going through this, and explains why some of my vegetables just look so very weird. Leave a comment and then let me know what you're doing to successfully combat these things. And if you have any tips, please let me know. Be well, be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.